All right, folks, welcome to the next, episode or next version of the Cinch Partner series, webinar series. We got Andrew here from Pesty, who I'll introduce here in a sec. But just as we're waiting for folks to jump on, go ahead and come in here and fill out the polls. Just a couple housekeeping items. We have got some exciting questions that we are wanting your input on. If you do go to the bottom right of the screen, there's that poll icon. If you click on that, we've just got a couple questions that we're just trying to get your insights on. So please fill that out as we're hopping on here. Also, just housekeeping, there is the chat available and the questions also in the bottom right there. Questions, feel free to ask as we're going through the webinar. And we'll make sure to address any of those at the end if we've got some time, and we'll be watching that. So, yeah, we'll just give it another couple minutes here as folks hop on. Just a reminder again, polls. We've got some published polls. If you go to that icon in the bottom right, just curious to get your insights on some questions as pest control owners or pest control company employees. Fill out those polls, and we'll be diving into that data in a bit. Let's see. Okay, we got some more folks hopping on, it looks like. Great. And Andrew, remind everyone where are you out of right now? What's this beautiful background we see?
I'm in Austin, Texas currently.
Right on. Sure, it's warmer than where we are. We're in Utah, and so still struggling through the winter.
We just turned the corner on the weather out here. So yeah, it looks a little bit like I'm in a cave right now, but it is shiny and sunny and beautiful and warm outside.
Great.
So that is where I am headed after this.
Keep rubbing it in. Very, very nice. Very cool. All right, looks like we'll give it another minute here. And just for the sake of kind of fun banter, I guess, Andrew, we met back at Pest World this October, right? I think that was the first time we met in Denver. Are you going down this next year, or can folks expect to see Pesty in Orlando?
Yes, we'll definitely be. I was solo wolfing it up in Denver. Not quite as exciting as Orlando, so I just headed up there myself. But I will definitely be there with some of the Pesty team in Orlando this year, and I'm looking forward to spending some time in Florida.
Yeah. No, Pest World's always a lot of fun. So that was my second time. Orlando will be my third time. So yeah.
My first time was Vegas, which I have no complaints if they bring it back to Vegas.
Yeah. Always a fun destination. It feels like most of these shows are either in Vegas or Orlando for a lot of the industry shows we go. Do you go to anything else other than Pest World?
Yeah, I'll be at some sort of conference. I think it's in Carolina, like a Mid-East
Mid-Atlantic or something.
Mid-Atlantic, yeah. I think that's coming up later in the year, and I'll definitely be there. But yeah. So keep an eye out for the Pesty logo, the Pesty red. That was my bright red Pesty colors when we met up in Denver.
Love it. Cool. Well, I think with that we can maybe get started here, get the show going. So I am really excited to have Andrew here. So Andrew is an absolute expert. We love Pesty. We have kind of been talking over the last month. It'd be really cool to do a webinar and focus in on just educating our customer bases and anyone else out there in the pest industry, and really focusing on kind of three specific areas of marketing. But first things first, quick introduction. I'm Gabe. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships here at Cinch. My job is to connect with folks like Andrew, people who are kind of the movers and shakers of the industry. And we at Cinch, we love the pest control industry. and we have really appreciated this industry's good intents. Like these are good folks that we're working with here, and we want their businesses to grow. We like working with people like Pesty's who bring kind of a different perspective, different services that we don't provide at Cinch. So that's my role again is finding great folks to work with, like Andrew. Andrew, just as a quick bio, is the CEO of Pesty Marketing. He and his team help pest control companies that are doing over $1 million in revenue grow faster with the right marketing strategy. In 2024 alone, they generated over 20,000 pest control leads for their clients, including some of the top companies in the industry. That is awesome. And one note on this, how long has Pesty been around for now, Andrew?
Pesty's been around for, I think we're in year 3, or maybe we just hit our 3 years. And then really started to hit the ground running a couple years ago when we, got our first couple clients. But I've been around the industry for over 10 years now.
Very cool. Okay. Love it. Well, that's some amazing growth in just that amount of time. So far as what kind of agenda-wise things that we wanted to talk about today, Andrew actually introduced us to this concept of the 40-40-20 formula for growth. And that is when you look at your growth in terms of your kind of marketing strategy and how you find new customers, 40% of the value of that comes from having the right list, like the right names of customers that you want to contact, or prospects, that you want to contact. 40% of that is giving them the right offer. And then 20% is really the right creative. And Andrew shared this with us. I thought it was a brilliant idea. I think sometimes I would fall into that category of like, oh, if it's just really pretty, that's what your customers or your prospects need. They need a really funny Super Bowl commercial, right? Like I remember I was thinking back today on a marketing class when I was in college where we showed like all the famous Super Bowl commercials. Like if you've ever seen the cat herding one, I don't know if you've seen that. It's like one of the classic Super Bowl commercials. But the funny thing about that commercial is that nobody knows what the company is that commercial is supposed to be promoting. And so it's not just about the creative. It's really the list, the right people you want to talk to, and then the right offer. And then it's the creative that's kind of the cherry on top. So I really like this kind of formula that Andrew kind of presented to us or shared with us. And so we wanted to build this presentation off this 40-40-20. And so the first 40 is, of course, the right list. And we'll kind of go through each of these, and Andrew will give his perspective on how do you get the right prospect list and the right prospect offer and the right prospect creative. I'll give our perspective at Cinch, where we're really experts in retaining customers. And I'll give you our perspective on getting the right list of your current customers, the right offer to your current customers, and the right creative to your current customers. So with that, I'll kind of throw it off to Andrew, and he'll kind of kick us off here.
Yeah, so thank you, Gabe. When it comes to looking at really fundamentals of marketing, there's a lot of shiny objects out there, right? And it can feel like marketing moves really fast. And on the technology side of things, it does, especially because when it comes to marketing, marketers like to adopt technology early on. But at the core of marketing, regardless of the channel, and specifically direct marketing, there are some fundamental principles that are always at play. And so when you're trying to figure out either how do I get this right at the outset of a campaign, or how do I figure out why my marketing is not working, you really want to look at these 3 areas. So starting with the right list, what does the right list mean? What does it mean? It means getting in front of the right people at the right time. Because if you're trying to sell pest control in the middle of winter in Canada, that's the wrong list. You don't want to be sending mailers out. You don't want to be running ads out there. You're just not going to sell pest control to those people because there are no pests, right? So first we want to figure out, how do we get in front of the right people at the right time? So depending on the channel, there are a couple ways to think about this, but we break down the right list into a few different areas. So first is targeting. When we're talking about targeting, and if we're talking about specifically with search and Google, then we have BOFU, or bottom of the funnel keywords. These are keywords where the intent to purchase is very high. So pest control near me, pest control, and then the name of the city. right? So bottom of the funnel keywords, ant control, bed bug extermination, right? All these kind of keywords that someone would go to Google or Bing and search. On Facebook, you might be targeting by a demographic, right? So a certain age, male or female, right? Depending on the kind of ad you want to run. So at a high level, we have targeting, and then we have segmentation. So when it comes to segmentation, let's say you're running Google ads, you don't just want to target, you don't just want to run the same ad to everyone in an entire state, right? You want to segment that by location. So you want one ad running to people, in my case, in Austin, and a different ad running to people in Texas. So now we're refining this list so that we can make our advertising, our offer, our creative more relevant to the person we are advertising to. To further break that list down, we look at quality, and whether it's Facebook or Google or ideally any other platform where you have this kind of ability to optimize the algorithm, you're looking at sales conversion data, right? So on both the Google and Facebook platform, you can say, hey, look at all of these conversions, look at all these leads that I'm getting, go find me more people like them. And then because Google and Facebook have a bunch of hidden data that because of privacy reasons, they can't share with us, we've done our job with the targeting and the segmentation. Now we're going to say, okay, robots, algorithms, bots, you go do your job and go find more people that we can sell to. So when it comes to lead generation, when it comes to the first 40%, getting the right list, this is how we think about how to break this down at a high level. As an example, you would look at, like I said, pest control near me, men ages 35 to 45. For segmentation, you might be located in Austin, Texas. On Facebook, you can't actually target homeowners, but maybe you want to target people who are interested in Home Depot, which are generally going to be homeowners, not people who are in apartments. And then for quality, on Google, you really want 30 conversions in 30 days, kind of at a minimum. The more conversions you get, the better that quality of your audience that the algorithm is going to find for you is going to be. And then on Facebook, I'm not a Facebook expert, but during some of my research, it looks like 50 conversions in 1 week. Like you really need a lot of data in order for the Facebook algorithm to do great work. And Gabe, I'll let you take it from here on this section.
Yeah. So this is really great content that Andrew's providing about, again, how, what's the right list for your prospects, for new customers. When we look at the right list, we're talking about current customer database that you have. The current customers, whether that's directly from your point of sale or other sources, and we'll talk about this. But I like to look at these topics through kind of three different lenses, which is what's the barrier, which we'll talk about first. What are some of the tools that you can do to kind of overcome that barrier? And then finally, what does the outcome look like? So again, our subject right now is how do you get the right list of your current customers that you want to talk to, that you want to remarket to? The barrier is that you've got a lot of data, and that data is very often really dirty. So these are just some of the examples. I won't go into all these, but you have so many places where your customer data lives. Point of sale is obviously the easiest one, but if you're using a CRM, if you've got things from like if you purchase a new movers list, you've got landing page data from your Google or your Facebook ads. You've got notes maybe on paper somewhere. You've got some event that you went and you went to the county fair or something like that, and you collected information from current customers, and that data is just living everywhere, and it's in different silos. So this is really the barrier on if you want to today go, I want to get a list of just customers that we've done a termite service for before, but they've never been part of our general pest service. And that would actually be my challenge to everyone on this call today is can you find that list right now? And is it easy to access? Well, if it's not, then you've got a problem because getting the right list of your current customers is some of the lowest hanging fruit that you have in your business. And again, you've got all these data sources. And this is, again, to kind of zoom in on this problem, this data is disorganized and it's dirty. There's incomplete data. There's multiple records. So I like to give this real world example where I actually went to a local business that worked on my car. And I ended up getting double mailers from them. One said Gabriel and one said Gabe, and it was the same offer. It was come back for your tire rotation or your oil change. I can't remember what it was, but I got double mailers, and that's because that business's data is dirty, and that becomes such an inefficient part of your business, part of your marketing strategy, where you're double spending on me. I would have come in if you would have just sent me the one. You didn't need to send me two, right? And this, I like this quick stat here this is from Cinch's data. When we grab customers' data from these multiple sources, point of sale, landing pages, Google reviews, whatever, we found that 26% of your customer data is duplicates. There's Gabe's and there's Gabriel's in there, right? There's Andrew's and there's Andy's in there. And that's really just the same guy. So cleaning this data, and you can see that second stat there, improves all of your retention marketing, helps you get a higher email open rate because you're not bugging me by sending me double emails. It's helping you be more, have higher ROI because you're not sending me double mailers. So important. And again, this dirty data, finding a way to overcome this barrier to getting the right list. That's what we want to talk about in this section. So what's the solution? So the solution, there's a lot of tools that can help you with this. Cinch happens to be one of them, but there's other stuff out there. We are a customer data experience platform, or a CDXP. I don't know.
Sorry, Gabe. No, that was my fault. Took an earlier.
So we are a customer data experience platform, and our whole goal is to grab your customer data wherever it lives and match it and clean it. Recognize that Gabe, who left this Google review, is the same Gabriel who had this termite spray, is the same Gabe H. Davis who submitted a form online for more information. Is the same G. Davis who signed something at the county fair, right? Like our whole goal is to say, hey, this is all the same guy, give you this 360-degree view. So now you can go, hey, I want to talk to just people who've had termite but have never had our complete pest service. Find it for me. And Cinch, and this is, again, other tools can do this, but Cinch is able to go, bam, bam, here's this segmented piece. Now we can go and market to them. So really, having a tool, whether it's Cinch or someone else, that's able to clean the data is really the barrier to finding the right list. And what's the outcome? You're going to see business growth. And I've already indicated this in some of these kind of real life stories with me, but you're going to see increased revenue because you're going to be able to identify, here's the list of people that haven't had this service but need it. Here's if I want to go find my most likely to buy people, my high spenders, I can identify that group because I have clean data. And it just helps your processes be a lot faster as a business. You don't have to go to all these different sources and manually clean stuff and kind of do some guesswork on, who's Gabe and Gabriel, is it the same guy, right? So just the benefits to having the right list are just tremendous and can't be overstated when it comes to your business. So I'll pass it back off to talk right offer with Andrew.
Yeah, thanks, Gabe. So when it comes to the right list and the right offer, right, these two combined make up the bulk of your ability to be successful with a direct marketing campaign, right? So how do we break down the right offer and know that it's the right offer? Really what we're saying is it the right offer for the list that I am targeting, right? Because the right offer is not the right offer for everyone. Different is sometimes like what you're aiming for with the offer is that it's different and differentiated for the person that you're actually getting the offer in front of. So if we break it down, we can look at 8 different components of your offer, starting with value, then positioning, price, guarantee, urgency, scarcity, offer stack, and the name, believe it or not, of your offer, which kind of bleeds into creative. And so we're going to break each of these down individually, and then towards the end of this section, I'm going to walk you through some examples so you can see what does this actually look like on a pest control website, a pest control landing page. So the value, what are the benefits of your solution? And I find that this is where a lot of pest control companies have a hard time communicating and also communicate the same way. So one of the most important parts of communicating the value and the benefits that you have is that you do it in a way that is like differentiated. When you're looking at positioning, This is how is your solution positioned in Mrs. Jones' mind? Meaning your company is not going to be the right fit for every single person. You want to be positioned for a certain kind of customer. You don't want every customer or prospective customer who comes to your website to feel like your goal is not to make everyone feel like this your product or your service is for them. Because when you try to speak to everyone, you speak to no one. It means you have to water down your message instead of speaking deeply to the right person, right? So the way you're going to communicate to a customer who is looking for the cheapest option, right, or really affordable option, is going to be very different from the way you communicate or position your company when you're working with or trying to attract a customer who's willing to pay a premium for the service. And there's nothing wrong with either positioning, right? It's the difference between like Walmart, one of the biggest, most successful companies in the history of the world, and Apple, also one of the biggest, most successful companies in the history of the world. So your positioning is not a right or wrong. It's just who do you want to attract as a customer, and how do you position your company in order to attract them and to frankly repel the people who you don't want. Part of that positioning can be price. Are you priced at a premium? Are you going to charge the most in your community, or are you going to charge the least? When it comes to differentiation in pricing and marketing and pricing, those two options are the only ones that give you a competitive advantage. If you're charging about the same as everyone else, then there's no differentiation in positioning there when it comes to price. Again, there's nothing wrong with charging about the same as everyone else. Just know that you need to differentiate on other things besides price. Another component of your offer is the guarantee, which you're really asking yourself, how can you reduce the risk for Mrs. Jones? Ultimately, Mrs. Jones or the consumer is trying to understand and mitigate the risk of them making the wrong decision, right? They want to make the safe decision, the decision that they feel comfortable is not going to screw up. Especially in pest control, you're talking about sending someone out to their house, right? You're talking about sending someone out who's going to have to, be around their pets, their children. They're going to know where they live. Right. And so when it comes to the guarantee, you're trying to show them if you're not happy with the service, the quality of the work that we do, the service that you get, the customer service that you get, we have some type of guarantee to back up, the fact that we are confident in what it is that we're offering. Then urgency, right? So you're going to see this more commonly in things like e-commerce, right? So Black Friday, that's like the most urgent promotion you'll ever see because it's one day of the year, which now it's really like a week or two of the year, but where they're like, you better buy this now, or else this deal is going to be gone. In pest control, we don't see that as much, but I will show you an example later of a promotion that we ran where we did create some urgency as well as scarcity, which is my next part of the offer here, which is how can you decrease supply to increase demand? That doesn't necessarily mean you need to do fewer services, but what if you run a promotion where only a certain number of people are going to have the opportunity to take advantage of the service that you're offering, of the promotion? Like I said, I'll share an example of this in a little bit. Offer stacking. Can you combine offers into a more appealing offer? Right? So when you talk about all these different components of like pricing, urgency, scarcity, positioning, how do you then take all the components of your offer and stack them so that when you look at them, you have really stacked the value of your offer, and someone can look at that and go, wow, I'm getting a lot for $50 a month. This is actually a great value. This is a great deal. It has very little to do with price and everything to do with how are you putting that offer together and then communicating it. So when you put when you put your entire offer together, are you just calling it a bi-monthly service, a quarterly service? Because I can get that anywhere. And if I can get what you're offering anywhere, then I'm just going to go with the cheapest option usually. But if you put it all together in a way that is branded and you give it a name, right? So I see a couple of pest control companies in here, like the Bug in a Rug premium plan. right? Or the Palmetto Exterminator's gold plan. Well, all of a sudden you've given yourself a little bit of a something that's branded, something that's memorable. And when you stack your offer together into a single service, then you've done something that is more memorable. And ideally, it's done in a way where they feel like, I can only get this offer from this company. And if I go anywhere else in town, I'm not going to get the same value that I'm getting here. So let's look at a couple of examples. This is the landing page for a client of ours, Green Home Pest Control. And I hope you guys can see this well enough because I'm going to point out some of the little things here. So what do we see when we come to the first thing that we see when we come to the landing page, right? I mean, first we see obviously like phone numbers, we see a free quote, but where our eye is also going to be drawn to is in the middle of the page. So we have the photo on the right, we have social proof and a testimonial there on the right as well. On the left is really where we're focused on the offer, right? So we have first pest control service for $99 plus 1 year of free termite protection. And to fill you in on details of that 1 year free termite protection, because you might be asking yourself, how do you offer that for free? And why would you do that? The reason we do that is because every quarter when Green Home goes out, they do a spot check for termites, right? So it's not super labor intensive. They don't necessarily have to put anything out like traps to keep an eye on the termites. All they're saying is we will come out and we will spot check whenever we do come out for your regular service. And the reason they do it this way is because I had another client here in Texas who, when they tried to sell termite protection up front, like right when the client called in or prospect called in to sign up, they have very few people who actually said yes to signing up for termite protection. But what we figured out was that if they got 1 year of free termite protection and then they were auto-enrolled into it the second year, then over 90% of people held on to that termite protection plan, but were paying for it now for as long as they were a customer.
That's awesome.
So you offered it for free for a little while on the front end, and you ate that cost while your technician has to do that spot check. But now for however many years you have left with that customer, they're going to pay you $13, $15, $18, whatever it is that you're going to charge on a monthly basis for that additional service. So you've just upsold them. You've done it automatically. And on the front end, you're going to get more leads because this offer is differentiated in your market, right? So we have first pest control service, $99, already a pretty sweet deal, but everyone kind of, like a lot of people offer that. So then the 1 year of free termite protection adds to that and increases your customer lifetime value. So ideally you have an offer that gets more people in the door and gets you more revenue in the long run. Then when we look at the rest of this offer, we see that they have year-round protection with a pest-free guarantee. So right there, we're trying to set the prospect up to have a conversation about an ongoing service, not just a one-time service. And part of the offer is their positioning as a local family-owned small business. And then just below the call to action button for a free quote, part of their offer is also that they offer same-day service if you call early enough, right? And then if we look at the next option, if you're transparent about your pricing, which the text here is a little bit hard to read, then you can actually go into detail about all the savings and all the value that someone is getting at the price point that you're offering it, right? So this is the way to set up your, in this example, elite pest defense plan versus the basic pest defense plan. These are a couple mobile examples of similar kind of offers. You can kind of see how on mobile, you really want your entire offer to be shown what we call above the fold, or as soon as someone lands on the landing page. And on the mobile device on the right here, earlier I said I was going to show you an example of scarcity and urgency. The offer here was for the next 50 customers, first service is only $99, plus you get 1 free mosquito treatment. So you don't have to make this offer to everyone. But if you can get 50 new customers because of this promotion using scarcity and urgency, then you can take it down afterwards if you don't want to continue with that offer. So you have options here.
Awesome. And so now when we turn to the retention side and making sure that we're getting the right offer to the right customer, the barrier becomes some of your marketing inefficiencies. When you think about marketing inefficiencies, there's a lot of potentials here. And again, I won't go through the whole list, but the one that really stands out to me is your ability to automate your processes without sacrificing the personalization of your processes, right? So if I asked anyone on this webinar right now, could you go find, all of your customers that, again, this example have only had termite but have never done your general pest service? You might be able to do that if you had enough time. You could go to your own spreadsheets and download something or talk to one of your specialists or whatever. But the time that you lose on that is costful. And then beyond that, your ability to automate that, can we automatically message people upsells and cross sells? And the example I give of this is one that we've heard dozens of times for customers. Is you could have a general pest service process in your company, general pest service offering. And what happens? Your technician goes to the door and they see on the lawn or see on the door hanger, this house was just made rodent free from Ron's Rodent Service. And that was a service that your pest control company offers. You offer, rodent protection. And you just missed out on that upsell, cross-sell opportunity because you didn't have an automated process to message those opportunities that was personalized, that was targeted. And so you really lose out in marketing inefficiencies with this. So solution is to have marketing that's automated, but is still personalized. And again, to give kind of a real world example, so last year we got a puppy. My wife was super thrilled. We have a spider problem in our neighborhood. It's kind of a newer development, and it used to be all fields. And so I think there was like a big spider infestation. I was always like, I'm kind of like the man of the house. Babe, when there's a spider, just tell me. I'll go take care of it. But once we got a dog and we were out walking the dog, well, I wasn't, my wife was, and our dog ate a spider and it bit him on the inside of his mouth and it had one of those like classic pictures of like a big swelling dog face. I should have added it to the slides. But when that happened, it was no longer, Gabe, you're our exterminator. She was like, call a pest control company. So I called the local and I said, hey, can I just get someone to come out to our property and spray for spiders? And like next day they came out, sprayed for spiders. It was like $70, something like that. Great. Problem is now the marketing follow-up that's happened has been automated, but it has not been personalized. The follow-up was, hey, Gabe, do you need another spider spray? Which I didn't need one. I've got it done. Like I don't need one for another 6 months or until I call you again. But what they didn't say is, Gabe, do you need a termite spray? Gabe, do you need to get on a general pest? Gabe, do you got a rodent problem? Like there wasn't a way to segment me in their database and say, Gabe has only done this. He's never done this. Now automatically message him about the service that he needs, not the service that he doesn't need or that he's already had recently. So this marketing automation becomes a really great solution for when you're trying to get the right offer. Again, making sure that offer is smart though, and that automation is smart and it's personalized becomes a really big important key. So outcome, of course, is that clean data plus marketing automation. Again, increasing revenue. When it says, Gabe, we know you need this service because you haven't had it before. It's more targeted. It's more personalized. It's not marketing something that I've already done recently. So you see when you're able to again target, automate, personalize, revenue is just going to go up and up and up. So I like to then show here what it looks like in action. Again, this is lots of tools like Cinch. This is what ours looks like when it comes to segmenting your customer base and then automating that personalized message out to them. And I'll go here real quick to make this go live. So what's happening here is we have all this data, and again, some of that's dirty, it's duplicates, cleaning it, and then deciding, okay, what is this? I want to just grab customers that haven't had a transaction in the last 90 days. Now I'm going to take those customers and I'm going to send them on a communication journey saying, oh, by the way, we've noticed you haven't had a transaction in 90 days. Here we're going to send them an email or a text message or whatever saying, hi, we missed you. Here's 50% or 15% off if you come back for another service. Or again, in my example, you're not on our general pest. You've only done spider. Let's message you and get you back in for our general pest. So I like showing that kind of example of how it works in real life. Automation that's still personalized. Let me jump back to our general slide here, and I'll pass it back over to Andrew.
So the last part of this, right? We have the list, the offer, the creative. The creative is still important. If you get the list right perfectly and you get the offer done perfectly, you can still see results, even if your creative sucks, even if your design is ugly, even if your copywriting is atrocious. But if you can get all three right, then you might as well, because you're going to see the best results. You're going to see outsized results. And really what we're talking about with the list, the offer, and the creative, it's all about relevance, right? So now that we have the right list, we're in front of the people we want to get in front of, and we're showing them an offer that is relevant to them, then we want to communicate that offer in the best way possible. And when we're talking about the creative, what we're really talking about is copywriting, or the text in your messaging, and the design. And the research that I've seen consistently is that your copywriting, your text, what you've actually written, has twice the impact on the conversion rate of a landing page or website as does the design, because people think in words. The design is meant to highlight the copywriting, not the other way around. If something looks pretty, but it doesn't communicate what I needed to communicate for me to clearly understand what your offer is and what your company does, then I'm going to be very confused no matter how good it looks, right? And then on the other hand, you could have an entirely white page, but if the messaging is there and if it's organized in a way that I can clearly understand it, I don't necessarily care that it's not the fanciest, coolest, best looking page ever, because the information you're sharing with me is relevant, right? So most of your effort should go to the copywriting first and foremost, and then the design is meant to highlight the copywriting, not the other way around. The best copywriters, the best marketers do the most research, right? So this starts with knowing your customer and your service. If you're doing your marketing in-house, you obviously understand your service pretty well. That can be at your own detriment, because you've forgotten what it means to be new to and you've forgotten what it means to not understand the service. But it means you understand the nuances of your service, and that can be really important, especially when you know your customer. Okay, and this goes whether you do your marketing in-house or you have an agency. So if you hire an agency, you need to make sure that that agency is taking the time to really properly understand the nuances of your business. And you ask yourself, how did they do that? Or how do I do that? Have I ever interviewed my customers? Have I ever sent out a survey to ask about them, find out their demographics, find out their psychographics? How do they think? What do they prioritize? You probably have a gut sense based on taking a lot of calls, maybe listening to customer service and sales calls, but sending out a survey, contacting your customer, getting in front of them, reading reviews are also great ways to really understand the needs, the wants, and the priorities of your customer. So the better you understand your customer and your service, and the better you are combining those pieces of knowledge in your head, the better you will be at creating great copywriting. Find out how customers think about your service, the language that they use when they discuss the subject, not the language that you use as a technical person who understands it. You want to speak the language that the customer uses in order to be really clear. You also want to understand what attributes are important to them and what promise would be most likely to make them buy from your brand, right? So attributes meaning things like experience. How much does experience matter? Attributes like trust and credibility, right? So social proof, testimonials, reviews online, those sort of things. And then you want to highlight that throughout the copywriting, throughout your website, throughout your landing page, really throughout any advertising that you do. So that's the kind of survey, the kind of research that you can do, is find out what language do they use, what are their attributes, and what promises are they looking for. And then you really want to study the product or service you are going to advertise. The more you know about it, the more likely you are to come up with a big idea for selling it. So, say this is right, because also you're definitely not going to sell your general pest control, your recurring pest control, the same as you're going to sell your mosquito treatment, your bed bugs, your wildlife removal, rodent control, all those things are going to be sold differently. And so it's important that you understand those different products and services in order to actually sell it. Okay, so again, the job of design is to get the copy read. Format is the arrangement of everything, right? So if you're advertising on a place like LinkedIn, which is not actually something you may do as a pest control company, depending on your marketing mix and what you're trying to accomplish, is not necessarily going to be the same way you're going to format that copywriting on, say, a Facebook ad, because the context is different across those two channels. So to drive home the point of how creative can be different depending on your customer, most pest control companies, right, and most pest control customers are going to be in warm areas of the country, Texas, Florida, California. Now, we have a client, Kodiak Pest Control, out in Montana and Wyoming, and the needs of their customers and the way they think about pest control, the attributes they look for are much different than the needs of the customers who are in the warmer climates of the United States. Because in warmer parts of the United States, like in Florida, pest control it's basically a foregone conclusion that you're going to have it because there's so many bugs. The bugs are year round. You have huge termite issues, right? So it's hyper competitive down there, and the messaging is going to be much different than a place like Billings, Montana, where you have real winters, right? Or where you guys are with Cinch in Utah, where for a lot of customers, pest control is more of a luxury than it is a need, right? Because there's only certain months of the year when you actually might like pest control. And in a place, in this case, where this client serves their customers in Montana and Wyoming, pest control is seen as a luxury because I don't need it year round. And during the time I do need it, I'm a DIY person, right? I take care of my own property. I take care of my own vehicle. I enjoy spending time outdoors, so I don't necessarily mind doing pest control. So the way we talk about pest control is different in this area, right? If you can read the subheader here, it says the best luxuries in life don't look luxurious. They just make life easier. A pest-free home is like air conditioning in summer. Once you have it, you'll never go back, right? Because it's about enjoying the luxury rather than it being a necessity, something that you need, right? And then we talk about attributes, right? The first bullet point, the attribute is about experience. At Pest World earlier this year, I went to a breakout session where they shared a bunch of data that they did on pest control consumers. And consumers across generations, number one priority is the experience of the company. Experience can be communicated many different ways, but certainly if you can communicate that you have 33 years of experience doing pest control, that's a very strong, it's a very strong signal that you know what you do, you know what you're doing. You've been around a while. And then we talk about the attribute of year-round protection, right? So not just a one-time service, but that we're going to make sure that you're taken care of all year round so that you never have to worry about pest control. And then we're going to highlight that pest-free guarantee, right? So that if you are dealing with pests, we guarantee the pests are going to be gone, or else we're going to come back free in between services. And then an attribute that's really important in smaller areas like Montana or Wyoming as a local family-owned small business. So some of this is about like the creative is really about how do you communicate the offer that you're giving the customer. Here's another example of a landing page where we're highlighting the offer by using a lot of numbers, right? $79 first service special, trying to make the copywriting and the message and the offer more memorable, right? And then talking about relevance, this person, you can see it's Austin Pest Control. So this person who found this landing page would have been in Austin. They would have typed in something like pest control near me. They would have clicked an ad that said Austin Pest Control, and then they would have come to this landing page that again confirms the keyword they were searching, the ad they clicked on, the offer that they saw, everything is dialed in for Austin. And they also see the offer. And then you're starting to notice a pattern where we have the header, social proof, the subheader, and then 3 bullet points. So all of this is about continuity from what they were searching, the ad they clicked on, the messaging that they're seeing on the landing page, and it's all about clarity. The creative is all about trying to communicate in no uncertain terms what you do, how you do it, and why you're different, why you're the right company for the person who you're getting in front of.
Nice. So this is such good content, Andrew. Thanks so much for sharing. So when it comes to the retention side, we've talked about getting the right list, which is all about getting your data in order, getting the right offer out, which is all about segmenting your customers in the right way, in an automated way that doesn't sacrifice personalization, right? Now we're to the point where we're talking again about what's the right creative. And really the barrier on creative from our perspective on retention marketing is anyone going to even see it? So like you put in all this hard work to create something, have it look nice, even have it be dynamic, which means, again, personalized, make sure it says, Gabe, you're due for this service, not dear customer, right? But is it even going to be seen? So we talk about a couple things about just getting eyes on stuff. Number one is making sure that it is across different channels, that it's omni-channel, which means we're not just using mailers, we're not just using emails, we're not just using text messages. We're using all those channels, and we're not using them separate of each other, but they are orchestrated and they're talking with each other. It's not just, hey, let's go into our one software that sends out text messages, our one software that sends out emails, and then let's call a guy that is doing our printing. It's getting these all to talk together. And then again, making sure that this is really timed and targeted. And that it's not just, hey, Gabe, we think you might be due for something. We have some calculation and some strategy on, hey, it's the right time of the year to send out this type of creative. That's get it out there to Gabe so he'll make another purchase. So visibility and deliverability become really, really important. One other thing that I'll talk about on that is also how well your emails, specifically the delivery rate of your emails is. So we've got a lot of study and a lot of experience under our belt on email deliverability. And make sure you check out our website. We have a really good blog post. It's called The 10 Commandments of Email. And it goes into detail about how Google and Gmail decide what emails go into the main inbox versus promotion versus spam. And there's some very easy steps that you can take to make sure that your emails are going into that main inbox, not into spam and not into promotions. And so I like to highlight that piece as well as something that we have a lot of experience on. Again, making sure that your creative is getting seen. So solution, obviously, again, we have a solution around this, but it all starts with making sure that your list is clean. And this goes back to the beginning of the presentation, making sure that your list is clean, making sure that you have some automation around sending out those creatives, but that it's a smart automation that's recognizing and targeting customers the right time when they need that with the right promotions. And that this is an omni-channel experience with emails, texts, mailers, other unique sources. And another thing that we've added on our end is if you want to send brownies to your customers or gift cards or cookies, we've got an ability within Cinch to do this. And we're about to launch a new product where we've connected with a robot that will grab a pen and will hand write a letter and send it to your customers. So having some of these unique channels to market your creative through just become really powerful when you talk about giving a unique white glove experience that's going to make these customers feel like they're not just a number, that they're not just a data point, that this is a real valued customer to you. So outcome, I love this stat. Companies with extremely strong omni-channel customer engagement retain on average 89% of their customers compared to 33% for companies with weak omni-channel customer engagement. And again, omni-channel doesn't just mean that you're using all the different channels, texts and emails and mailers and gift cards and whatever else you're doing. Omni-channel means that there's an orchestration happening, that there's a timing. Don't just flood the zone and send everything all at once, a text, an email, and a mailer all in the same day. Send the email first, see how the engagement is. Do they come back in for a service? Do they schedule another spray? Then if they don't react to that email, then maybe send the text message, then maybe send the mailer, right? Having it orchestrated, having it omni-channel, not just multi-channel is very important. So stronger brand, higher revenue is really what the goal is when it comes to your creative. Getting that domain reputation up higher, increasing customer engagement through really targeted upsell and cross-sell, lost and lapsed customers, reaching out to those people in this kind of custom customer experience, enhancing your brand awareness, higher conversion rates. The other one that I like to highlight here is just increasing the trust and credibility of your brand. When I got those 2 mailers from my local repair shop, and one said Gabe and one said Gabriel, I lost trust for my corner auto shop because it was not personalized, because it felt like I was just a number, like it was just another stat. But if you can find ways to make these processes to deliver the creative more cleanly, it's just going to increase that trust and credibility. Our couple last takeaways. Andrew, I'll throw it back to you. Oh, sorry, you're muted, Andrew.
Thank you, Gabe. So in sum, when it comes to your direct advertising or direct response advertising, you really want to focus on, first and foremost, the list or your audience, right? Making sure you're getting in front of the right people at the right time. If you try to sell ice to an Eskimo, well, you're not going to sell ice to an Eskimo. So make sure that you're in any kind of marketing that you're doing. If it's not working or you want to maximize the chances of it working at the beginning, make sure that your advertising is going to get in front of the right people. Next, your offer. Make sure that your offer is compelling. Make sure that when you stand your offer up against all the other options that Mrs. Jones has, that person clearly has a reason to go with you. Because if you stand up your offer, just remove all the brands. Put your offer against every other offer in a simple spreadsheet. Stack what everyone is offering. And if you can't clearly see that your offer is better for the segment of customer that you want, you have a problem. You need to reevaluate your offer, and you need to figure out what needs to go in that offer and how to communicate it in an effective way, which brings us to the creative, right? Making sure that your copywriting, which is really your sale, like your website, if you're taking digital marketing seriously, should be your best salesperson. It works for you 24/7. It never takes a day off. It never complains. And it's always either working for you or working against you. And you want to make sure that it's working for you so that when it comes to getting the right people at the right time to come to your website so that they see an offer in a way that is compelling, all of that combines into giving you the kind of results that are exciting and allow you to take full advantage of, in particular, the busy season, which we have coming up here, right? So, Gabe, I'll pass back to you.
Awesome. So from the retention perspective, number one takeaway is focus on who you're marketing to and what you're offering before worrying about how you present it. And this single statement kind of encapsulates the way that we view these 3 topics of right list, right offer, right creative. You need to know who you want to talk to with a given piece of content or a given piece of marketing. You want to know what you're offering, and you want to combine those 2 before you necessarily worry about how which channel are we going to use, even though it's still important, like I talked about omni-channel, but really hammering down on getting a clean list and then getting that list automated in a way that it's identifying who needs what communications, who needs what upsell and cross-sell opportunities, who needs to be reached out to, who we haven't seen in a given amount of a period to kind of re-engage. So please take that with you. And then again, my challenge to any pest control owner is always, can you today identify quickly and easily a list of everyone who's had one-off services but has never been part of your general pest? And do you have a way to automate the communication to them in a way that is engaging and timely? That's the challenge. And again, the takeaway here is who and what before how. So with that, I think we're probably pretty close to time. So we probably will skip the questions. And here's awesome content that Andrew and Pesty has offered. Do you want to give a quick overview of this, Andrew? What this create a killer offer is?
Sure, I'll give you a 30-second snapshot. So what we put together for this webinar is a guide and a PCO offer generator. So on the guide side of things, what we're really going to walk you through is the details of how do you create a great offer. Some of the things that we went over earlier, but in greater detail to really walk you through how to think about putting the offer together in a way that is compelling. And then on top of that, and in that same guide, there's going to be a link that goes out to a PCO offer generator. This is a survey that you fill out, and then using how you fill out that survey at the end, AI is going to put that offer together for you. So that way you don't have to think about how you make it work, what the copywriting is going to sound like or look like. You're going to get it in a format that is first bullet points. You can literally just copy and paste those bullet points to your website. And then also you're going to get it in more of a paragraph style messaging. And so that's available to you when you scan this QR code and then go to the website.
So cool. Yeah. So this, and grab this on your phones right now. We will be sending out this recording to all registrants post webinar. So if you don't get it now, you'll be able to access it later. Here's direct links to our schedules if you want to see a more in-depth demo or talk with us about anything that was discussed today. I will say anyone that's a friend of Andrew and Pesty's is a friend of Cinch's. So we want to, if you work with Andrew, we want to help you. And so appreciate your time, Andrew. Thanks for jumping on with us, man. And we'll at least be seeing you, I guess, at Pest World, hopefully before then.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Gabe.
Okay. All the best. Talk to you later.
Bye.